Welcome to Trigger Talk, your place for everything first-person shooters like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and so much more. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sammy Boy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. It's always it's fun to do the back-to-back recordings because we have to ask each other multiple times how we're doing, and it's always good fun. But yeah, I'm doing.
I feel like I'm even better this time, though.
Yeah. Now that I've had my chat with Sage, I'm better than last time actually. So that's valid. It is worth.
Exactly.
If you ask me again in another half an hour, I'm sure I'll be better than I am now. So good point.
Oh yeah, but in this episode we're talking about something fun because we're diving deep into Apex, and Apex is this really good case study that we've used forever when it comes to how to support a game over the course of its lifespan, and I think it's going to be even more fun to talk about Apex now because they've had some big changes. So let's jump right in. Before we get into this week's episode, I do want to give you all an update on our Battlefield 2042 Season 7 coverage. Sammy and I are still getting some extra time in playing the season, getting all our thoughts together. So all of our discussions and review of Battlefield 2042 Season 7 will be next episode. So stay tuned for that. Now, let's jump in and talk about Apex, its live service, as well as a little rabbit hole into what Battlefield can do better. Apex is, like we were saying in the intro, it is basically what we've used every time that we complained about Battlefront and the destruction of Battlefront, honestly.
Yeah. Especially the fact
like,
that
if
it's
only
EA
they did this.
Too. Like come on, man, it's the same company. Like what are you guys doing? Come on now.
It's so true. The same company can on one hand be like, yes, we're going to make the best live service game in the industry right now and set the standard for so many things within battle royales. Also, that company in the same breath is like, yeah, sorry, we're not going to be able to do Battlefront or any Star Wars first-person shooter online games. Sorry.
Sorry about that, guys. We know you want it, but nah.
It's so dumb, so frustrating. But like, Apex just recently got into their 20th season, which is just insane to think about, honestly. But on that same note, like there's something really interesting going on with it at that same point because they're almost going in and resetting it. And I think Overwatch is doing something similar. At least I saw an article where they were comparing the different long-term games like Overwatch and Apex. And a lot of these games are now in this time period where they have to... they've got enough content in there that is quite overwhelming to new players. What's a good way to grow your audience and keep your existing audience happy? I think that's the question a lot of them are asking.
Yeah, I never thought of it in that way, that because I actually went back and played Apex not that long ago. I want to say the end of last year at some point, playing with the Twisted Jedi and the Aussie Jedi, who you know. And
oh yeah,
I hadn't played in like so long. Like, I don't know, it would have been years and years. And when I did play, I was comfortable with the game. I knew, everything you needed to know. But then when I came to, look at all the new legends and stuff, I'm like, damn, this is a lot to try. I'm just trying to jump on with the boys.
Choose?
I'm not trying to do a whole study just to play a game. So I never thought of it in that way that, yeah, you can get too much content in a game. And usually I feel like that's when games move on to the next one, but this isn't the type of game that really needs that, and especially when you compare it to Overwatch, where that's kind of what they did. They made Overwatch 2, which is essentially just Overwatch, but with 2 in the title. Like, it's not even different.
It's legit.
And a lot of people
the same
did
game.
not like that. Yeah, it was like one of the worst reviewed games on Steam of all time or something. It's like, I think people didn't like the way that they handled that. So it is interesting to see what they're doing here, and it's something that I'd be very curious because, like I said, I haven't really paid attention to Apex. I'd be very curious to hear like what the community's reaction to this has been, because I'm sure a lot of people are like excited for it. I'm sure a lot of people are like, you're taking away content. I have to unlock these characters I've been playing for so long now. So I'm interested to see how it goes, but it sounds like a very interesting way of doing it to me personally.
The change in how Apex is handling this like greater amounts of content, like they're going in a very interesting direction, which is, hey, we're going to take the existing content that we have, we're going to remove some of it, and everyone's going to hail it as one of the best seasons in a while. And I feel like if you did that with any other game, people wouldn't have that same reaction. And I think it's interesting to compare that with the other games and how everything's going on in the game industry right now in terms of this very like, I want to say hostile, but that's not necessarily the word that I mean. But hostile is a good way to say it, like, or volatile maybe, of this like game space. The industry right now is very different. Everyone's looking for the live service game to add to their library of games, and then you have like these staples like Fortnite and Apex and Call of Duty. But if you look at Fortnite, Apex, and I would even say like Rainbow Six Siege in that same note, these games are existing ones. These are the ones that they've been around for a while. They know what they're doing. They know how things are going to be going. And they're continuing to grow. They're continuing to add new content, and it's working.
Yeah, it's something you don't see often, is it? Like, not that many games have lifespans that long, especially when you name Rainbow Six Siege. Like, that game's been around so damn long now, but it's still doing well. Like, that would be like 8 or 9, even maybe more years old, isn't it? Like, it's a pretty damn old game at this point, and it's still doing well. It's not breaking any records. It's not like the most played game, but it's still. You look at a game like Suicide Squad that came out. If they could have the play base of Rainbow Six Siege, they'd be stoked, and it just launched like this month. That literally came out this month. Now that I'm looking at it, and it's already dead. And so it's pretty mental.
That game feels 8 years old already.
Yeah, that's why I had to I looked at I was going to say last month, and I looked at the calendar, and I'm like, hang on, that came out 21 days, literally 3 weeks ago today. That game came out. That can't be real. I've actually just blown my own mind. That did not come out 3 weeks ago. No way. Oh my god. I saw that it had 900 players on Steam at one point last week.
Oh, so that is brutal.
Yeah, that. To be fair, that was like the off time peak. So like that day it was around like 2,000, but that's still like terrible compared to what you would expect. So it is interesting to see that in comparison to, specifically Rainbow Six Siege, but now, Apex is getting old. Like, this is its 5th year now, and they're still all doing really well. And same, like, I don't know as much about Overwatch. I know that when Overwatch 2 launched, it had a lot of drama, but like, I think that game still does pretty damn well. So,
oh yeah, people still play it because, like you said, it's the exact same game.
Yeah, so it is very interesting to see that, and especially compare it to the games that I generally play. You know, granted, I did play a lot of Apex when it came out, but like, I generally play your Battlefields, your Call of Duties and stuff like that come out kind of like every year, or in Battlefield's case, every 2 to 3 years, and you just kind of play it and then you just move on to the next one. And it's a very stark difference to games like Apex, where like that is still going, and it probably will just still go for another 5 years. You know, like I don't see any reason why they'll stop, other than maybe they make Apex Legends 2 for like the PS6 generation or something. But I just don't see that game stopping. So it's very interesting to see. And like you said, it's I didn't think of it that way, that you can't just keep putting content in the game. That is probably what kills a lot of games off, because they just become so much content and it's just like so repetitive and stuff. So it's interesting to see them trying to navigate into this new sort of era that, to be fair, they don't have a blueprint to go off, because like there's only probably Siege and Overwatch that have been, and some like older games, I guess, like Team Fortress 2 was around for a while, but it's a very different era of gaming than these days. So yeah, it's just an interesting thing to think about that. Like I said, I've never actually thought about that before. That I just thought each season you get a new legend, you get a new whatever, couple weapons or something, and that you just do that infinitely. But that's not really how it works, because people will just get sick of that eventually, and you've got to change it up. But you can't. There is no blueprint for that. There's no like, here's what you do once you get too much content. Like, we've never actually seen that. So this is a very interesting take from them, and I will definitely pay. Like, I haven't really paid attention to Apex, but I'm definitely going to pay attention to see how the community sort of feels about this, just because it's interesting to look at, really.
Mm-hmm. And like, it's not just the fact that they're like kind of resetting the game. It's also they added 120 hertz mode. Like, this is the next gen version of the game as well. So now it's taking full advantage of like the PS5 and the Xbox, and more so on the PC. So there's a lot of content there. They're adjusting some things. They're bringing some really new, refreshing looks at things. They're upgrading the crafting. They're upgrading the legends, the balances of the game itself. There's a lot as well that they're doing. They're bringing back some of the maps. All 3 maps are in rotation now. They've got some limited time only modes. Like, there's a lot of stuff here. Each of the legends themselves are adjusted. There's a ton of balance updates. But I wanted to bring this up as we go from one subject leading right into the next. We have a little mini Battlefield show here, because I want to compare, like, why can Apex Legends make a quality of life update where Battlefield, in the same space, same publisher, feels like they're constantly hated on because of that. And I want to start with, one, Apex has done an incredible job of continuing support of the game and listening to their community, giving communication to their community, and also updates to the game happen consistently with meaningful content.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say it like that it's, why can one game do it and the other one can't? I think a lot of that is to do with the state of the game when you're doing those updates. Mm-hmm. I think if people are starved for content, like we sort of have been with 2042, and then you just give us, like, we're expecting a big update, and it's, a new season, and we get one map, and that's kind of it, a couple weapons and whatever. That makes the quality of life update sort of feel frustrating, I think. It makes it like, is this really, like, you're still fixing the game after this? Yeah, like, whereas a game like Apex, it's done. I know that there was like a little rough patch in the middle there. I want to say around like season 12 or something. I remember people kind of complaining a lot about the game, but it's done pretty damn well consistently the whole time. And I think that's why they can do that, because they've been so consistent with content. It's not a content-starved game. In fact, they're literally removing the content because there's so much. So
yeah,
I think that's the key difference. I also think, like, the whole battle royale thing versus like a casual sandbox type of shooter, even though I do think the battle royale genre has, I'll say, quote unquote, died off. I don't think the games that are doing well, so Fortnite and stuff, they're not dead. But I mean, that genre seems dead to me, in that if anyone makes one now, I just think it's pointless. I think that time has passed, is essentially what I'm trying to say. And I think Apex got in there at a good time, because it came out before Warzone, and I think it was between Warzone and Fortnite. Fortnite had kind of just popped the year or two before that, and then this was kind of the next big one. So I think the fact that it's still, the people who are still addicted to like battle royale gameplay, they love that type of game. Whereas when it comes to a game like Battlefield, and it's the same with Call of Duty, the casual sort of sandbox shooters, or not that Call of Duty is a sandbox, but like that just like arcadey type of shooter, I do think has, in the same vein, kind of run its course a little bit. I think that something needs to change up in that space, because I've done that a lot, man. I've done a lot of just running around in the map and shooting people over the years. You know, there's nothing really exciting about it these days. When the next Battlefield game gets announced, I'll be excited and I'll play the hell out of it at launch, but it's not going to be anything brand new. It's going to be a big map with Conquest, and I'm going to run around and shoot people. It's not that, different from the current Battlefield game. So I think that's part of it too, is that I think a lot of people don't realize that they are maybe sick of that like method or that type of game. Because I know for myself, like I used to just be such a diehard Call of Duty and Battlefield guy, and now I'm kind of just bored of that. And that's why when the finals came out, I was like, damn, this is so much fun, because it's different. It's got elements of those games, but the modes and just the way that the game works, it feels fresh, it feels exciting. And I think that's why with a game like Battlefield, like people do just kind of hate on it. And I think it's not even the fault of Battlefield, because Battlefield generally, or not so much the last two, but like they generally do what they try to do well. And it's more like if people don't like Battlefield, not so much the last two games, like I said, but in the past, if you don't like Battlefield, that's not because Battlefield's bad. It's just not your type of game. But I think these days, a lot of people who it used to be their type of game, it's now really not their type of game, and they haven't maybe figured that out. And so then they just start hating on the game and, hating on the devs and all that kind of thing, when it's probably a little bit unfair. It's obviously the game has it's had more than its fair share of issues, so it's not just on the player. But I think that's the key difference there, is that Apex just was a bit of a perfect storm, whereas Battlefield they have to do something different for the next one, because it's that type of game is just a little bit like outdated now. It's just a bit boring, I think.
I think it's twofold. One, they're making an outdated game, and two, they're trying to tack on a new but kind of waning idea, which is the live service experience. But they didn't do it with intention. Like it felt like they almost had to do it, and then they're like, crap, okay, well, here we go, we're gonna do this, without realizing the full extent that they need to do to have a successful live service game. And when you look at like the difference between Apex to Battlefield, like very different games in how they're actually, I want to say like how they're executed, but they're both games. Like they're both online games. They both have live services, but one's a battle royale, one's just like a large scale multiplayer shooter. I think there's things that both can learn from each other, but in terms of like who's given the most learning, it's definitely Apex. Apex has the idea down when it comes to like what needs to be done when you have a live service game. What does it look like when you need to support your game? What does it look like for your community to actually like support what's going on?
Yeah, I think that they've done it so well in that the game feels like it's hand in hand with the live service. So they tell the story through the new season with the new legend, and that adds to the story, and that's like part of the journey of the game, I think. But 2042, if you just removed all the battle passes and all that, I don't think that it doesn't affect the game really. It doesn't make me go, oh damn, that game would have sucked without battle passes. Like it just doesn't really matter, I don't think. I think they tried it early with the specialists in the first 4 seasons, but it just didn't land. And like you just said, I think it was a lot of just the execution. The idea, when they sort of announced this game and what it was going to be, I was the first person to be like, damn, this sounds sick. Like I'm all for Battlefield having like a battle pass, and we get a new player to play as each, or a new character to play as each season and stuff. That sounds cool to me. It did sound good, but it just didn't. I think a combination of it wasn't executed well as it just probably doesn't fit that type of game. And so it just hasn't paid off. Whereas with Apex, like I said, it's kind of, I think the game itself, like the base game and the live service, are just hand in hand, and you can't remove them from each other. Whereas, yeah, it's just not like that with Battlefield, and that's the issue. Is that, like you said, the live service feels a bit like tacked on with Battlefield. It's like it's just an extra thing they've just put on top of it. It's like a coat of paint on top of the game. Whereas the live service element of Apex is the friggin' bones. Like, that is the point of the game, and then the actual
it's like putting a coat of paint on a beat up truck. Like, the dents are still there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity that Battlefield can take from Apex and look at like how you can do basically the same thing that Battlefield's doing, but like generate goodwill in the community, like adding things that help the player themselves enjoy the game more, not just making the game run better. Because in terms of like a player perspective, you want to have a game that supports you and kind of knows where you as a player intend to go. Like, if you're going to play a game one way, your game needs to support that. Like, if most of your players are playing in one particular gameplay style, whether it looks like hey, they want more communication, whether or not, like, there needs to be something there that keeps the players happy while you internally upgrade your game as well.
Yeah, that's the other part of it too, is that I feel the games that kind of tie their community into like the live service, and they just make it like a whole community feeling situation. Those games work well. You look at Fortnite, they do like freaking Travis Scott concerts and stuff. Like, who else thinks of stuff like that? That's something that, of course, the players are going to be like, what the hell? That sounds so random, but of course I'm going to go do that. And like all of the, like, remember when the first map got like blown up and stuff? Like, that was just mental. That's something that obviously will hook your players in. That's something that 100% is going to do well. The stuff that Battlefield's done, the Archangel events and stuff like that, it's not that enticing. It's kind of cool. I always paid attention to them, but it was never like, oh my god, I have to, like, I've got to show up for this event. There's only ever been really, not that I didn't play any of the big Fortnite ones, but I was like watching the streamers. I didn't even play Fortnite, and I was watching like Ninja and those guys streaming that event when the map got blown up, because I was like, this is insane. This is actually crazy what they're doing. Yeah. And it just wasn't like that with the Battlefield stuff. It's just that they didn't make it, not to say they didn't make the community involved or like feel involved or anything, but it wasn't exciting enough. It wasn't grandiose enough, and it doesn't need to be, because like they can go the other way with that, which we've seen them do, where they try to be too grandiose and it just ends poorly. But yeah, I just think that that's the main thing that I think Apex, even Warzone did that in the early, like Warzone 1, where they had like the Black Ops Cold War reveal, and it was like you were in the map and you would had to run to the stadium and there was planes flying everywhere like that. I have probably never felt so like hooked on a game than that moment, where I'd been loving the game that entire time, and then they like include us in their, like, we were in the marketing, we got to experience it in the game. I was playing their reveal, you know what I mean, for the next game. Like, that's just mental stuff that, other than Fortnite, had never really been done before. And I just think that, and to be fair, it's probably kind of, it kind of sucks for companies like DICE, because that's the expectations that like we as players now have of like, oh, you're not blowing the map up in a live event. Oh, that sucks. Like, it's kind of unfair to them in a way, but that's if you want to do that type of game and you want to live up to the other games out there, that's the competition. Like, that's just how this works. Competition drives everyone to either be better or die off, and yeah, they haven't so far lived up to that. And it's annoying because I know that Battlefield can. Because imagine, like, they kind of did that with like the behemoths in Battlefield 1. That was one of those things that people who never had played Battlefield were like watching clips of the airship falling to the ground on the map, and then the players running in, and it was still there. The wire and all that was still there. People were like, holy, this is insane. That did not just happen in a multiplayer game. Like, Battlefield used to do that stuff, and now they just sort of haven't. And I think that is a big part of why, yeah, like you were getting at, the live service element of it just hasn't worked as well as a game like Apex, where I've really liked the way they do their storytelling and stuff. They literally just do, like, each season kind of gets its trailer and it introduces the new legend and it has lore behind it. And it's like,
it's what DICE tried to do, but failed.
And they did it once and it was cool as, and then they never did it again. Like, the whole Exodus thing, that was sick. That was so cool. If they had done that for every single season, I would have cared way more, but they just didn't do it. And it goes back to what I was saying. That's the competition. You can't do that once. You can't have that as just a pre-launch thing. You've got to do, like, Apex does that every season. It's you got a lot of competition out there that it's I kind of feel for them, because all these other dev teams must just be scrambling, thinking like, oh my god, like they would be watching those events on Fortnite and stuff and being like, oh my god, how are we ever gonna, like, we can't do that. We just can't. We don't know how to do that, and it would suck. But unfortunately, that's the way the industry goes, and I think that's a big part of why the live services hasn't stuck. And I really think that they could. That's the part that annoys me, is that I think Battlefield could be that
if they want
company.
Someone who worked at Respawn, I think they know this guy named Vin Zampella, possibly.
Oh, that makes it even more frustrating, doesn't it?
They have, like, the specific people that have worked on those projects that they could learn from working on the game.
It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Like, do you think the next Battlefield will be live service? Do you think we're going to go back to some... I don't think we'll do, like, premium, but, like, what do you think that next game is going to be like? Because in a way, I would be okay with live service. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. And I think I'm okay to give them one more chance, because they haven't really... This was their first... I know that, like, Battlefield 5 was technically live service too, but it didn't buy into it fully. It was a bit behind the times with, like, it didn't have the battle pass and all that kind of thing. It just wasn't monetized properly. I'm okay. Like, I'm okay to give them one more chance at it, because like I just said, I know that they can. Maybe not this current team, I don't know, but I know that the old Battlefield could be that company that would, like, the other games will be watching and being like, what the hell? Like, how have they done that? That's crazy. And I want to see that again. But, yeah, I just don't... Look, now that Vince and that are there, I think even with Marcus Leto, he seems like such a cool, like, storyteller that I feel like he can have a lot of say in that too, even if he's just on the narrative team doing, like, the campaign side of it. He can still have a lot of say in the narrative of the live service and stuff. And a lot of what he did with Halo was such a cool universe, and such a... Like, Halo is almost another one of those ones that should have done better with its live service. And he wasn't there during that time, so we can't blame that on him. But, I want to see them give it a crack. I will not lie, I'm not confident. Like, I'm not thinking the next Battlefield's going to be freaking Fortnite or something. But, I want to give them the chance that they can learn from their mistakes on this one, because we see with Apex, it's the same company, it's the same dude at the head. Like, Vince is running one game and he's now also running the other game. How can he not have an impact on that and stuff? So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting, I guess, 18-ish months, if the rumors are true that it's going to be next year. But it's definitely very interesting watching Apex and just seeing how they're doing stuff. It's almost like, even though I'm not involved in making the next Battlefield, I'm kind of like taking notes and being like, that's an interesting way of doing it. Why can't Battlefield do that as well?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where the future goes. I think there is going to be a big focus on live service games, or live service with Battlefield, but I hope that they take a lot more of what Apex does and then apply that to Battlefield, but we shall see for sure. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or contact@blinkpodcast.com if you'd like to email us. You're listening to us wherever you find podcasts. Check out Sammy Boy's YouTube channel, and if you're into Star Wars, check out Star Wars Uplink. As always, we'll see you later, video gamers.